Hi there, Cupicate here. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today, and I'm sure you could tell by the title, this is a speed paint. This is actually my very first speed paint that I've ever done of the new series art for Taiyo's next litter from our WolfQuest adventures. And if you are new here and you're here for the art, this is actually art for a game that I've been playing on the channel for a long time now, WolfQuest, and this is one of our wolves, Taiyo, who is laying passionately over his mate, Sundance. This was a really fun piece to do, and it was one of the very first art pieces from our WolfQuest series that I didn't sketch from actual wolf photography. I did use a screenshot from the game that I took of Sundance rolling, but other than that, everything else I pieced together. I want to try more and more to just use my knowledge of wolves and all the practice that I've been given with sketching photographs to try and create my own pieces without a full-on reference. I'm really grateful, honestly, that this channel has given me the opportunity to grow as an artist and even be able to do that. So during this video and speed paint, I will be popping in and out with some commentary over my process, and to start with that, I will put in that I always start with actual paper and a pencil. I've been an artist as long as I can remember, from even being very little and drawing with marker on the side of my mom's couch when I was very young. She was not happy about it. But I loved drawing, I loved art, and I loved writing ever since I was very, very little. And ever since, I've never been able to step away from my love of just paper and pencil. So still to this day, I do my sketches on paper. I use a tote board, which is essentially a giant clipboard that I stick my paper to, and I go from there. And you can tell by the video that it's a picture of my picture that I'm doing the line art on right now as I flip back and forth between viewing the sketch and viewing the transparent background with the line art. Line art to me is probably the most tedious process that there is in any art piece, and I'm sure many of you artists out there may agree with me but may feel differently. I have a lot of fun drawing the fur floof, as you can see in this part. I do flip the screen back and forth pretty often. You'll probably notice me do that. I highly suggest, if you can and have that tool to be able to flip your image, it kind of helps you see a different view of the piece where something might look just a little off. And in this particular picture, I noticed that Taiyo looked very slanted to one side when I flipped the image, so I had to adjust his shoulder a little bit, and I'm glad I did that because I think it definitely made the piece look more natural anatomy-wise, especially since I'm not a professional in wolf anatomy. Even though I've drawn wolves for a really long time now, I still have a lot to learn. I do think in this piece, even in the end, Sundance's body was just a little too long, but it's alright. I think it's sweet that there's just enough space for Taiyo to lay over her very pregnant belly. You can't tell that she's pregnant in this picture because he's laying just over her belly bump, but she is. They are expecting puppies. So now we've started pulling color from a screenshot that I've actually taken from the game itself, and you'll see me flip back and forth between it a couple of times. I like to try and actually pull colors from the game if I can help it. I've done that so far with all of the WolfQuest pictures as far as I can remember, except maybe Brothers Rivalry, but I feel like I probably pulled from screenshots of that series as well. It just makes it look a little bit closer to the game and a little more realistic as far as our characters go. I want to keep it as close to how they would look as possible. So yes, you can see here I keep grabbing colors to try and make Sundance look like her coat from the game. And here is where we start using my favorite tool, the tool that I should have used for the shading in this piece, and I didn't. Shame on me. But you will see me use the lasso selection tool. That thing I only recently learned about, and it has been a lifesaver, especially when doing markings on wolves, if they have lighter socks or if they have stripes on their back of any kind or patches of different colors. The lasso tool has saved my bum. Why I didn't use it for shading in this piece, I don't know. Probably would have been a 20-minute video instead of a 28-minute video had I used the lasso tool for shading. But alas, you will see later, I completely forget about its existence while I'm shading. In this part of the video is where I start using my blending and blurring tools, which I probably favor just a little too much. I know that I've watched other art tutorials and such where it says, don't use this tool too much, it looks unnatural. Well, I love it. So I use it a lot, but I actually tried something a little bit new for this particular piece. I tried doing a feathering technique in hopes of making it look a little more like fur. I don't know if I fully accomplished that just yet, but considering it's a new technique that I've never really tried until this particular piece, I think it turned out pretty good for a first try, and I hope to kind of improve that and hone that technique for future pictures of our wolves. We're coming up on pretty much my favorite part of doing Sundance, and that is adding a little bit of sunlight. So her coat is very golden colored, very sunny looking, hence her name. And so I started adding some orange overlay airbrushing to her coat, and she just came alive with that color. And she's not even done yet, but that was probably my favorite process in drawing and coloring her, was just adding that just touch of sunlight to her coat. Here we finally start color blocking Taiyo, which was funny that I chose to do that because I wasn't quite done with Sundance, but you can see that I ended up putting in his base color. It might have been just to see how he looked against her golden color, but no, she wasn't quite done. It's entirely possible that I got bored with her for a second, and so I moved to Taiyo. But I also did something that I do for all my pieces to kind of help the line art, and that is to make them black in the background. And what that does is that makes the line art a little more solid. Any places that the selection tool may have missed, the black back behind them makes that go away. And so I do that for all the pieces because I can't, for the life of me, figure out how to make the selection tool do a little better when it comes to points on fur. We're finally getting to the end of shading our sweet Sundance. She was a challenge. I did not expect her to have so many colors, and when I looked at her coat in the screenshot, I was like, oh boy, she's gonna take a while, and she did. She took the majority of the video. As you can tell at this point, I'm just now highlighting her, and I think I even go back later after I finish Taiyo and do a little bit more shading at the very end. But we are finally working on our sweet Taiyo. We start color blocking his darker patches, and I had to laugh because I'm like, oh, he'd be so cute with a little eye patch. That's not what it turns out to be, obviously, because our Taiyo looks a little different, as you can tell from the reference piece. But I was really just in awe by how cute the little patch looked over his eye. Now we're starting to color in Taiyo's burns, and as I've said many times, I do know that in the game it is called mange, it is considered mange, but in Taiyo's backstory, these are the burns he received from the fire that him and Seraph had to escape. Drawing this and coloring this was really hard. It was hard in the other pieces that I have done of Taiyo. I don't know if I have the look quite right, but I used the dapple tool to kind of create like almost a crusty look. I hate to say crusty, that sounds so gross. But they are burns, and so his skin is darkened and his fur has not grown back there and probably never will. And so with the tools that I have and the experience I have, this is the best that I could kind of come up with for how his burns would look, but I think it turned out pretty good for this piece in particular. We are coming to a close with the last bit of this shading of Taiyo's fur. So this piece will not have a background. I do plan on doing a background hopefully for Taiyo's series for the end screen of all of our episodes, but I did not include it in the speed paint because the speed paint would have been another 30 minutes at least long. I am not a quick artist by any means. I'm very slow. I take my time, and that could be my lack of experience to some degree. I did not go to school. I didn't learn any tips and tricks on how to speed up any of this process. So I think it's just going to take time and me continuing to draw and do pictures for our series that will make me faster as an artist. But this altogether probably took anywhere between 5 to 8 hours. I can't remember how long it took me to do the sketch, but we have finally done the last shading of Sundance, and here is the final product. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here through this whole process with me and being patient on Taiyo's series. I'm truly hoping that Taiyo's first episode will be coming out on Wednesday next week. I'm very much looking forward to seeing where our boy goes in his story, and hopefully the goddesses will bless him with another healthy litter, and perhaps this time with the love of Sundance, they will be able to keep all of their pups alive. But most importantly, I do hope that Taiyo keeps Sundance close so that she can stay with him throughout her entire journey as well until she leaves him for Eartha's embrace. Well, I hope you liked the speed paint, y'all, and if you did, make sure you give the like button a tickle and a poke, subscribe to join our family if you haven't already, and jingle the bell so you're notified on the next time I do a speed paint, which will hopefully be pretty soon. I'm kind of hoping to do this for Mikhail's art. Thanks again for watching, y'all. I love you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!